What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room here, and we're getting to the business end of the Euros, and we're starting to see who's going to be back for pre-season, who's not going to be back for pre-season. And I think it's fair to say one player of the Liverpool squad has gone full God mode, which is Cody Gakpo. So we're going to spend a bit of time talking about Gakpo. We're going to talk a little bit about left wings and a billion left wings that we've all been linked with, because one of the things we know Liverpool doesn't have is enough left wing players. And, you know, we're going to explore the potential of a midfield signing, which Romano came out with today as something that Liverpool could be looking at solving. So we'll try and work out where Liverpool are going to try and solve this problem. To join me, I have Tom and I have Paul and I have Neil on the way, winging his way into the stream chat. Tom, how are you this evening, sir?
Yeah, all good. Still enjoying the time away from watching Liverpool, to be fair. I think we all needed this break, to be fair, after the end of the last season. But yeah, been enjoying the Euros, to be honest. It's been a good tournament, I think. So yeah, all good, yeah.
I haven't really been watching much of the Euros. I haven't really been watching much of Copa America either. But Paul, you've been watching pretty much everything based on stream chat, haven't you? You can't seem to get away from this international football.
No, I like it. And I'm happy that we have something to watch, because the off season is usually not my favorite time of the year, you know, especially with what's going on with the transfer window. We're getting very anxious to see other clubs signing players that were linked to us. You know, it's a tough time being a supporter at the moment. So at least we have the Euros and we can criticize Southgate because he's really crap, you know, but at least it's something to do.
Are Canada still in the Copa America, or have they dropped?
The Copa America is the quality is really not great, to be honest. The US was trash. Brazil team looks a shadow of themselves. Uruguay is looking pretty decent, but other than that, it's really a tough watch as well.
Well, we're going to start by looking at Cody Gakpo, because he really has... One of the things that really annoys me about international tournaments is you watch a player, you're like, holy shit, he's amazing. Then the club signs said player, El Hadj Diouf, Salif Diao, just to name a couple of players Liverpool have signed and, shall we say, haven't been great. And then Gakpo's come in and, you know, he's been, I think he's player of round one, player of round two. Obviously, he scored and assisted last night. He's really been sort of making a mark as that left winger, hasn't he?
Yes. I think for some reason, there are some players that look so different playing for their national team versus their clubs. Some look better with the club, some look better with the national team. Now, I'm not sure if it is this setup or what Cody is asked to do here is different from what he is asked to do his club at his for his country. But if you remember how the guy looked at the last World Cup playing for Netherlands, he was a monster, and that's why we signed him. So I think going forward, we have to see what we have with him as a left winger, because that clearly is his best position. At the moment, I think it's fair to say that he probably should be ahead of Luis Diaz. So my take is, if we sign nobody else or nobody at all, I would expect to see Cody starting at left wing come the start of the season.
Do you think he's done enough, Tom? Because Diaz has been playing for Colombia and he's not been playing bad for Colombia. He didn't play badly for Liverpool, but Gakpo, you know, has been really popular so far, especially in terms of the Netherlands and how they play. Obviously, we've got a Dutch manager coming in, so you've got the Dutch style of football that seems to be more automatic for him, and there's a level of comfortability there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think you've got to give it a go, you know, based on how he played at the Euros. You know, I mean, even the World Cup, you lit that up as well. And, you know, we did kind of sign him based on him playing at left wing, then we it's kind of been us that's kind of shoehorned into this false nine which he has been good at, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, his reputation was based on him playing a left wing. So I think we've got to at least, give him a run of games at the start of the season, see how he goes. Because I don't think Diaz has kind of made that shirt his own, to be honest with you. He gets us up the pitch. He has good qualities, but his end product isn't good enough, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think definitely give Gakpo a run of games at the start of the season, see how he does, and then obviously take it from there.
And in terms of, Neil, evening. That's good, mate.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
We're starting to get obviously we're linked to Anthony Gordon. We've got Diaz, we've got Jota, we've got Gakpo, we've got Nunes, we've got enough left wingers, and we're linked to left wingers. It's like seemingly we're collecting them like Pokemon cards. Do you see us signing a left winger? Do you see us playing Gakpo there? Do you see us keeping Diaz? What's your, based on the noise at the moment, what is it that you're thinking where we could be doing? Neil? Yeah?
Sorry.
I'm just throwing you straight in.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were still talking to Tom. So what's my current thinking? I have a strong feeling that there's substance to the Anthony Gordon rumours.
Yeah.
I think a lot of noises coming out of Newcastle are trying to push the thing that it was in his that he's keen to move and he's a bit disappointed that it didn't go through. So I can't. Whilst I can see it happening because I think he'll want the move and he may even push for the move. As you rightly say, there are other players in the squad that play in that position. So should Gordon be linked? Should Gordon be named as a specialist left winger? Maybe not. He has played centrally. There's nothing to say that he shouldn't play right. Again, we're obsessing about inverted wingers. So is there a reason why he shouldn't play right or left? But it does feel like, should he come in, that one of the players that can play left wing will probably be sold, and I would expect that to be Lucho. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Yes. And I accept your apology. It's because you're late.
Yes.
So far, Gakpo, 4 matches played, 345 minutes, 3 goals, 10 attempts on target, 1 assist, a passing accuracy of 73.75, top speed, don't know why we've got this, of 32.8 miles an hour, and a distance covered of 36.33 kilometers, which is an average of 8.25 per match. In terms of right foot, he's 3 goals. He's been offside 3 times. He's run into the penalty area 13 times. He's run into keeper areas 15 times. In terms of his distribution, he's only backward passed 18 times, 79 forward. And in terms of ball recoveries, he's done 5, in 3 out of 3 clearance attempts that he's made. It showing a player that's all round playing a really good game. The only thing that shines out as a really bad stat is his crossing accuracy is 30.77%, which is really quite bad, isn't it, Tom, in terms of that? But generally, it's showing that he fits how the Netherlands play. And is this a clue as to how Liverpool will play? Because it's very Dutch football-esque.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's that kind of winger, is he? I think Diaz is more like a traditional winger that kind of gets to the byline, good at dribbling, maybe can put a ball in the box, whereas I think Gakpo is more of like a goal scorer type winger, more like a Salah type sort of profile. So yeah, I wouldn't really worry about that too much. I think he's got a lot to offer in terms of then diagonal runs. Obviously, that Mane used to do, he's got that in his locker. Obviously, he's shown his finishing ability. So yeah, like I said, I'd love to see him get a run out in that position because we haven't really seen him have a run of games in that left wing role. Which, as I said before, that's where we bought him from. That's where he made his name. So. I think it'd be silly not to, give it a run.
Now, one of the things mentioned here, Paul, is only 2 dribbles per game for Gakpo, and obviously the way that we use Diaz at the moment is Diaz tends to pick the ball up and drive at the midfield, drive to the final third. He helps us with that progression. So if we're going to carry on with this inverted type system where Trent comes in and stuff like that, there's no one to really help us with that transition from defence to attack if Gakpo's playing left wing. Can you see more changes for Liverpool in terms of how we structurally play? Do you see them moving Trent to midfield, keeping your left back and your right back as your left and right back? Or do
Well, one other thing about football, since it has changed a few years ago, where you have wingers playing on the opposite side, meaning right footer playing on the left footer playing on the right, etc., is that crossing accuracy for wingers is not being that important. That's more an important stats for fullbacks, right? And that was why we were so successful in the Mane Salah era, with both playing on the opposite side, because we had the two fullbacks going down the flanks, and they are the ones that are expected to be accurate with the crosses. Now, this is why I'm still not 100% sold on Trent being a success at the base of the midfield. Obviously, I would like to see if it can work, because we all know how good he is on the ball, but there is a scenario where he could still be a better asset for the club as a fullback, right? Because it's not only his passing, but his crossing from the byline, is also one of the things that helped us so well in that era. So I'm not so sure if you're gonna have a guy like Cody instead of Lucho, who doesn't dribble, who is not the greatest in terms of speed, whose natural inclination is to cut in the box on his right foot from the left, then you need a left fullback who is going to create that space, that overlapping space down the left, not only to receive the ball, to create that opening to receive the ball to cross, but also to pull the defense, to spread the field and spread the defense, which invariably will create more space for a guy like Cody cutting in on his right foot. So it's a tough one. I don't know. I want to see Cody gets a chance at left wing. I don't think he's very good in the middle of the park as a number 8 or a 10. But at the same time, I am not yet ready to give up on Lucho. Obviously, if he wants to go and we get a good offer, then fine. But if he stays, I am fine as well. I guess it's just a competition, and we still need to see what Slot has in mind. And I guess we just have to keep all our options on the table.
For me, Neil, I can see a logic with Gakpo playing if you were to play Trent as a right back, because Trent gets the overlap, he crosses in, you've got a centre forward who's good in the air, Gakpo's decent in the air, and you can build that sort of overload, can't you, in terms of the far posting, and Gakpo can be deployed like that. Jota can also come in and play like that. It doesn't really feed into Diaz's core skills. So I can see a logic where if you're going to play on the far post, you would play Gakpo, and I could see how that would work, and then Salah would come in and mop up anything that's sort of missed. But if you're going to play Trent in a midfield role, I don't see how we get the crosses to the far post to create the disruption for Gakpo to play it. Now, a couple of comparisons to Rashford and Gakpo, which I don't see, because Rashford's all pace, no ability, and Carter in our chat will tell you that Rashford is the fix to all Liverpool's problems and the fix to England's problems, but that's a completely different thing. So, depending on where these players play, I think it depends on how Slot wants to play, doesn't it? Because I can't see Gakpo playing a transitional left wing role. I could see him more being a centre forward. But if we were to do an overload on the far post, I can see how he would work as a left winger.
Yeah. But we shouldn't. I think Conor Bradley is a reasonable crosser of the ball. So even if Trent doesn't play on the right, I think he should personally, and not in midfield. Then Conor Bradley is an excellent crosser. So yeah, it's a difficult
Excellent's
one.
Pushing it. Come on, he's good. Excellent.
Who?
Bradley.
Well, we haven't seen enough to know, over a long period as to how it will pan out. But yeah, I take your point that if you are going to be putting in pinpoint crosses to the back post, Cody Gakpo is good in the air and good for that. But as you rightly say, I think it does depend on the way Slot wants to play. I'm undecided with Gakpo what his best position is. He actually did quite well centrally when he first came in. and people spoke about him as a Bobby Firmino replacement. And then he had a really poor first half of the season last year, didn't he? Where nothing really came off. But again, I think he was moved around, which didn't help his case. So I want Sadio Mane back on the left wing personally.
Well, yeah.
That would be absolutely ideal. It depends. I mean, Gakpo wants to cut inside, so probably his strength is doing that, cutting inside and unleashing a shot. You see a lot of goals scored from him like that. We would need the left back to,
overlap massively,
like Robbo used to, bomb down that wing. As someone rightly said, has he got the pace to play on the left and the dribbling skills to do that? I don't know. I think we have to wait and see how it pans out with the new manager and the style of football. I think he's an asset, Gakpo, because again he's versatile. You look at his numbers for the season, which was considered to be a bad season. He had quite a lot of goal contributions and some of them quite crucial goals. So, yeah, would he be in my starting 3 out of the 5, 6 that we've got? Probably not at the moment.
Really?
In a different system, possibly.
You seem shocked, Paul. Would he be in yours? Who's your 3?
Well,
Let's do it. In fact, tell us in the chat. Tell us on here. Who is your starting 3 at this moment in your head under the Slot era?
Well, if I'm to pick a starting 3 like today, based on the evidence that we currently have, it has to be Darwin and the 9, and Salah and Cody. Now, other than what Cody has done in the Euro so far, which obviously you can't ignore, but even if you go back to last season and you look at the stats, Lucho had the most minutes played of the front 5, and he had the least amount of goal contributions. So, I mean, what that tells you is he's actually quite busy. He likes to take on players, which we like. But at the end of the day, football is a results business. And his end product, we give Darwin a lot of stick, we talk about how many big chances he missed, yada, 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 yada. But Luis Diaz has not been really great if you look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. So my front 3 right now would see Luis Diaz on the bench.
Tom, what about for you?
Yeah, I think I've Gakpo on the left as well. Like I said, I think he needs that run of games. But I go Jota in the middle. If he's fit, obviously we know his injury record, but I just think he's so clinical when he gets that chance. Darwin, he's looked good in the Copa America, but he's let us down time and time again in front of the goal. So for me, that's front 3 of Salah, Jota, Gakpo. They're all very clinical players. You can rely upon them all when they get in front of goal. So for me, I'd go for Salah, Jota, and Gakpo.
What about you,
I think
James?
that's really interesting. Cody is a 10, so that's almost like playing him like Bobby, but having a number 9 there, isn't it?
I don't think Cody. I don't think Cody's best position is at 10. Actually, I think he's a winger. And we don't play with a 10 anyway. We don't play with a 10.
We
don't play with a 10 anyway, right? So that's the problem.
Years ago, we played with a 10, not really under clock. So,
but then if we switch to a 4-2-3-1, which everybody's crying out for, not me, but everybody's crying out for this 4-2-3-1, then we would need a number 10. But even in that formation, there are better candidates in the team right now for that number 10 role. I would venture to say that would probably be Harvey's best position. Even someone like Szoboszlai might be very decent in that role as well. So I'm not saying that he can't function as a number 10, but I don't think that's the best position for him based on his strengths and the makeup of the team.
He isn't. I can honestly say I'm not watching it. I'm working at the moment, so yeah, it's fair muse. But I'm here to ask questions, not answer them. So fuck off. I think for me, if I was to build a front three right now, regardless of how it plays, I would probably go Núñez, Salah, and Diaz. And the only reason I go with Diaz at the moment is because I don't think Robbo's got the legs to overlap that you would need if you played a Gakpo and someone else wanted to cut in. I think you need that player who runs with the ball and transitions us from midfield to attack. So if we are going to play Gakpo there, I almost feel like we might need to sell Costas and bring in another box-to-box left back to really help with the overlaps and the sprinting, who would be first choice, because I don't think Robbo's necessarily got the legs to do the consistent overlaps that you would need for an inverted left wing. So that's my opinion on it, so that I have at least given an answer, even though I've not watched the Euros. Jamie Hughes, yes. Who was your front three, Neil? Did you give me one?
So I think I would go with Salah on the right, Núñez in the middle, and Jota on the left. But I think that then gives you the opportunity that you can switch Jota and Núñez. I think it then gives you decent pace in attack, and with Salah and Jota, you know that you've got a couple of really pretty deadly finishers. So I'd probably start with those three. I don't think Lucho and Robbo have had a great relationship since Lucho came to the club. So if you look at how Robbo and Sadio Mane sort of worked as a partnership down that left hand side, it was unreal. I'm not saying that the Lucho Robbo one's been poor, but the same understanding doesn't exist. And I think quite often Lucho's an unpredictable player. So I don't think that helped Robbo in terms of him getting up the pitch and expecting, like he used to with Sadio, to receive the ball when Sadio's moved inside. So Lucho's a bit more unpredictable. He does carry the ball well. He does work hard. But yeah, I'd like to see something that offers a bit more of a bit more of a platform to get our fullbacks into the game on the overlap, and I'm not sure Lucho is the right person for that.
The one thing though, James, if I may come in for 1 sec.
Go for it.
Robbo has been a great servant for us for the last.
Are you about to send Robbo to the grave?
Hear me out. Robbo is the one player that his game revolves primarily around his legs. Robbo, anytime we believe, and I'm not saying that the time is now, but anytime we believe that Robbo's legs are gone or is going, that's the time for us to look at a replacement. Because Robbo doesn't have the talent, in my opinion, to be an effective player in this team if he doesn't have that legs, because that's his game. So, and I think that we need to address that area of the pitch before it's too late, or before the drop-off comes on, because the drop-off will come on and it might be very sudden. So I am very scared about us depending on Robbo as that overlapping fullback going into next season.
So there's an element I agree with you, Paul, which is I agree if Robbo is starting to potentially decline, there needs to be someone to surpass him. I would therefore sell Costas and try and find someone who can surpass Robbo as quickly as possible. So I think we've mentioned it. I think people have mentioned it on the stream. Ant Nori maybe might be able to become better than Robbo. Robinson might be able to come better than Robbo, because one of the things we know Robbo will be able to do is 30 games. He might struggle to do 60 games, which is why I don't think we can rely on Costas for 30 and Robbo for 30. So I wouldn't get rid of Robbo yet, because I think leadership, mentality, structure. I think if you need someone to really annoy the crap out of somebody, you bring on Robbo. But I would bring in someone as a replacement for Costas who should, in all potential, overtake Robbo's ability. or hit Robbo's ability when he was at peak. Go on, Neil.
Yeah, the only thing I think we need to take account of is Owen Beck. I think had a really successful loan spell in Scotland. Luke Chambers is quite highly rated, so it's kind of balancing what the immediate needs of the first team are against trying to progress the young promising players that we've got. So Conor Bradley went out on loan at Bolton, and he looks like a first team player now. From how last season went, Owen Beck made big strides. So it's a really difficult one with the left back, because I would like to see us sign a Ryan Aït-Nouri, for instance. But then if Robbo's going to stay, then what happens with Beck? What happens with Luke Chambers? So it's a tricky one, and it may be that if we think Beck is going to be the solution long term, or that we keep Robbo for another season, sell Costas, and then bed Beck in like we did Conor Bradley this season.
So Beck's 21, isn't he? So it would be 22 in August. So in pre-season he'll turn 22. So would it not be better, just to hypothetically put this to you, Neil, sell Costas, bring in an Aït-Nouri or a Robinson or something like that, someone who is going to take the first team shirt, Beck to a lower Premier League top championship club for a season, then start that downgrade transition of Robbo and Beck, but Robinson or Aït-Nouri or whichever left back we sign has got the number one shirt, and that would be a natural progression for our youth team, because they should really nail a position down once you're about 23, 24, and that would be a good.
Yeah, as long as there's a plan, and I think that is something of a plan. Maybe you should be a sporting director. And it allows the player. It's got a plan for the young player for him to progress into a competitive position for first team football. So that's one way of doing it. They might think he's ready now, and they might think that he's ready to compete with Robbo for the first team spot. I think he did come on a lot last season, Beck. So
it's Wales, though, isn't it? It's not Wales. It's Scotland, so it's hard barometer for me. You might see it in pre-season though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a year ago, we did not know that Conor Bradley would be the player he is today. He got his chance.
Bolton fans might tell you different.
Well, certainly.
Considering I live in Bolton, they definitely told us different.
Us on here weren't really.
I didn't think he was going to smash through last season, to be honest.
Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley was I wouldn't say established, but he'd played a number of international games for Northern Ireland. He'd excelled at Bolton. So it wasn't that much of a surprise, I think, that he kicked on. Probably what the surprise was, how good he was when he came into the team. Yeah. The fact that he was around the squad and he'd actually done quite well pre-season. I think it was the surprise for me, Paul, was that he actually excelled when he got his chance in that position.
So that's why we need to give Beck the chance to see if he's the guy. I mean, we don't have to make all our signings this window, because if we really believe that guys like Beck or Chambers, have the potential to be first teamers, unless we integrate them into the team, you won't know what you've got. You could loan them out to a lower division team, and then next year you're still in the same position. You don't know. So why not bring them into preseason, keep them on the roster, and then, our Robbo is not going to fall off tomorrow. By January window, we probably know exactly what we have and what we need to do.
So, Tom, there's a problem here, which is Liverpool fans. And I say this in the nicest way. I am a Liverpool fan. You guys are Liverpool fans. If we went, do you know what? We're not going to sign anyone. We're going to wait, Tom. We're going to wait because we're going to assess our kids. There would be a nuclear level meltdown everywhere because people want the shiny new thing. So it doesn't matter that Gakpo's scoring a load of goals and stuff like that. We've heard Anthony Gordon's on the radar, so we want Anthony Gordon. It doesn't matter that Kwanzaa's come through and absolutely nailed down a position. It doesn't matter Bradley's come through and nailed down a position. We still want a left-footed, left centre-back person who wears Nike Adidas Predator Nike Sport Puma Kings. Anyone who's in our chat, I mean, honestly, it's insane. People want new things. So people don't want to accept kids coming through as a solution, do they? But at the same time, we need it.
Yeah, it's about that. It's about the balance of it. You know, obviously you want to be a club that gives young players a chance, but you also don't want to, you know, be at the expense of, you know, winning. But yeah, I think we are in quite a privileged position this summer, to be honest. Like, you know, new manager coming in, that's normally a sign of, you know, a massive rebuild needed, but I don't think that's the case at all, to be fair. I don't think there's one position where you think like we absolutely have to get that, otherwise, you know, we're doomed, kind of thing. I think, like I said,
yeah, if you go in our group chat, Tom, you know we're doomed unless we sign everyone.
Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think we absolutely need to sign a couple, but I don't think there's one position where we think like we absolutely have to get that. Like, I think it's just a case of adding quality where, you know, opportunities become available. But yeah, I'd like to see 2 or 3 quality players come in just to elevate us, but I certainly don't think there's anything desperate that's needed, which is obviously great for the new manager coming in. He's walking into, you know, 100 times better position than, you know, Klopp did, for example.
But isn't that the key now, that there's no point in going out and spending 13, 15 million on a Costa Simicas, because we've probably got someone from the academy that can come in and do a job almost as good, if not as good, maybe better. So now, as you said, Tom, it's a case of let's buy quality. Okay, focus on that. Don't go for the mid-range players between 10, 20 million. Save that money. Use the academy players to get in and around the squad, and then focus on the real quality players that we need to improve the starting 11.
But here we go. Here's a classic one, right? We want to sign a left-sided centre-back, so we want someone who wants to be the backup to Virgil van Dijk. So you're not going to get top quality backup, are you? In terms of, you're not going to get everyone wants Kafori, don't they? That's the new one in the chat, you know, who's playing for Italy. You want a right wing, right? So you're not going to play because Salah's playing, and Salah's never injured. A proper 6, I get. A left back, I get. But like, I think sometimes we just anticipate. I want these players. I want someone who's left-footed because we want a left-footed centre back because that's what we were linked with when it was Levi Colwill and stuff like that. When in truth, it's you want a long-term replacement for Van Dijk and a long-term replacement for Salah, and I doubt you're going to get a long-term replacement of the level that they can hit. That's going to sit and wait for 2-3 years until it becomes available. Unfortunately, when we lose Van Dijk, when we lose Salah, that's when we're going to have to spend big and find a player of that caliber. Or do you think it is possible, Paul, to sort of bring in that left-sided centre-back, bring in that right winger who's just going to sit on the bench and wait for their opportunity and then be at Salah's level?
It's kind of tough. If you find that player, you know, players always talk about the project, you know. Chelsea has been signing players by the dozens, and everybody seems to say the same thing. Oh, they like the project, right? Now, if you are a player in another league, there is a pull to come to a Big 6 team in the Premier League. So if we go to Bakayoko and say, hey, you're not going to start every game right now, but you are 21, so you might be here for 10 years. Salah is going to be here for another year or 2. I don't think that would be a hard sell, right? But at the same time, we as supporters, as you rightly say, we'd like this shiny new toy. So we just want to see signings, and we panic when we don't see signings. Because if Owen Beck, for example, was at another team and everything remained the same, just that he was not a Liverpool player, and it was announced today that we signed Owen Beck as the backup to Robbo, we'll all be happy, right? So that's just how we are.
Owen Becchino, maybe we'd be happy. Owen Beck, no,
Yeah.
Owen Becchino.
So it's kind of hard for me to really justify saying, you know, let's go and sign a left back, a 8 Nori or Anthony Robinson or whoever it is, if Robbo is going to play for this year, without at least giving Beck and Chambers a chance to see if they are the guys. Because if they are not, we need to find out and move them on. There's no point in having these guys year after year after year, because I think Owen Beck is a year or a year and a half older than Conor Bradley. So if we're not going to give him a chance to see if he's the right person this year, what is that going to be? So we have to temper our expectations a little bit as it relates to signings, because I don't see Liverpool spending big money on a player unless that player is a first team player. And that would be right now a CDM. And, we keep hearing that there's no world-class CDM that is available right now. So that could be the reason why, it's been so quiet so far in the transfer front.
I agree. And I mean, fair enough. We need players because the other ones are getting older. Van Dijk's in his 30s, Salah's in his 30s. Robbo's just about to turn 30, or has just turned 30. So we've got 3 players in the 30s, but Kanat is 25, Kwanzaa's 2021.
21.
Trent's 25, Bradley's 21.
Bradley's 21, yeah.
McAllister's 25, Gravenberch is 21, Bajcetic is 19, Soboslai is 22, Diaz is 26, Nunes is 24, Jota's 26, Gakpo's 25. We're not creaking. This isn't like Endo's 30. I think Endo is 30, not close to 30 mark. So yeah, all right. Some of the players are getting older, and maybe we do need to think about those. Now, Tom Romano said that he thinks Liverpool might be in for a midfielder in one of his wonderful web chats, where give me a few money, I'll say some things. I wish someone paid me for that. Anyway, different point. If we were to sign a midfielder, and I say if, because remember, Carvalho, 22, Elliott, 20. Is he 20 now, Elliott?
I think so, yeah.
We've got a whole range of midfielders. Where would you want a midfielder? Because everyone's going to say DM because, Endo was signed from Stuttgart and not PSG.
Yeah. No, I do think it still has to be a DM. I was incredibly impressed by Endo, to be honest. I thought from the turn of the year onwards, you could make a case that he was our player of the season, to be honest. From like January onwards, I thought he was outstanding, to be fair. But you kind of don't know if that was kind of Klopp, as he does, getting the absolute maximum out of players, or whether that actually was how good he is. I get the feeling that Klopp might have got a bit more out of him than other managers might do. So I would like to see a DM if we can, if an opportunity presents itself. But I also do think Endo showed enough last season to say that he deserves a chance to start the season and prove himself. And while he does that, you can bring Stefan in for the odd game, and hopefully bed him in. But towards the end of the season, he's kind of ready to go for the start of next season. So don't think it's a massive worry. I certainly don't think we need the number 8. I think we're quite blessed in that position.
10? Do you think we need a 10? There's enough 10s everywhere, isn't there?
Yeah, we got loads of 10s, to be fair. I mean, we don't even play with one, but we've got loads of them. So yeah, for me, like I said, ideally a number 6, but I don't think it's desperate. I think Endo's proved that he's more than capable of doing a good job.
Romano's full of it, though.
Of course. And let's be honest, Liverpool have gone silent at the moment. And we've always done our best work when we've gone completely silent and no one's got a Scooby-Doo. But Paul, for you, like for me, I would sign a left back. I think that's probably where, for me, I think the rotation needs to happen. I know some people are saying centre back because Matip's gone, but Kanate, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Gomez for me is a decent 4. Yes, you could have a 5. I'm not against having a 5. I think would be all right with a 4 if there's not a good centre back available. For you, where do you want, like, if there's one player, like let's say we're gonna smash 80 million on one player, and let's not think about quality, just one position to strengthen this squad, where would you go? Is it DM? Is it left back? Is it striker? Is it, where are you going?
Well, it depends on the plan with Salah. If Salah is prepared to sign a two-year extension, then that position would definitely be a number 6 if we can find a quality 6. I don't want to sign a 6 just for the sake of signing a 6, right? Because if you
Amrabat, useless. Decore, no, like all the names we were linked with haven't done what Endo's done.
Because there's always the flavor of the month name, Last year, this time, we were on here talking about Kefram Turam and Mane Kone, right?
I do like him.
No, none of those players were sold. Well, I think it's just now that Thuram is going for Juventus for like 25 million euros, right? So the point is they were still available if we wanted them. 6 weeks, for a 6 weeks period in the January transfer window, I watched literally every game that Fluminense from Brazil was playing because we were sure we were getting Andre. He was the flavor of the month. And now he's available for like 20 million euros and nobody wants him. So, yes, I want us to sign players, but there isn't really any player out there that's screaming at us to say, this is the guy that we should spend 80 million on, right? The only player that really impressed me is really Nico Williams, but I don't see that happening. One, he's a left winger. We have half a dozen of them, right? Two, he's going to be one 250,000 K a week. I don't think we're going to do that because we're not Man U nor PSV, right? So I just don't know, to be honest, James. I can't really identify a player that I can say this is the guy that we should spend big money on. Obviously, we're talking about Calafiore, up to a few days ago, and now he's gone to Arsenal, it seems. But at the same time, I just did not see Liverpool spending 50 million euros on a centre-back to be a backup to Virgil van Dijk. Because Virg should be here, my guess, for another 2-3 years, maybe longer. So even though he fits the profile of the player that we're looking for, he's young, left-footed, centre-back, and can play a little left back if needed. The cost to sign him with only 1 year of proper football, it's too high for Liverpool to spend that kind of money for a guy who is not going to be a first teamer for a couple of years. So it's really not as easy as to say, go sign a player. Liverpool has proven that if they identify that player, that game-changing player, they will spend the money. We did it with Van Dijk, we did it with Alisson, right? And we tried with Caicedo last year. So any player that's available for big money and we are not in, I believe it's because the team is not convinced that the player is worth the money. And it's not because we are cheap, because the history has proven otherwise.
This is the thing, I get you. I completely agree. And I think about all these players that we get linked with that end up signing somewhere else and just don't do anything, like Amrabat, there's De Ligt being talked about, and obviously he's not even starting for the Netherlands at the moment, as well as obviously we're going to get linked to Dutch players because, Dutch manager. Neil, for you, we've got people saying we need a left centre back, a DM, a right wing, all basic requirements. Anything else is gross negligence. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Harvey Elliott's a right wing, which people hate because they don't think he's fast enough. But I actually think he's like Bernardo Silva level of technical ability when he gets his intelligence up there. But people, and then there's Doak and there's Salah, and I think Nunes can play there. I think Diaz can play there. I think right wing's not necessarily a problem. You could play Salah, Trent there, for example. But where do you want to go? What do you want to see us do, Neil?
I'd like to see us sign a defender, possibly someone that's left-footed and multifunctional, so maybe can play centre back and left back, like a Nathan Ake type player. Then that potentially fills two issues or helps with that. I'd like to see us sign a mobile defensive midfielder. A lot of respect, as Tom mentioned, for Endo. I thought he had a terrific season once he found his feet. and he's going to be a really good squad player for us. I would like to see someone with a bit more mobility that gets,
like a Freendrup who we've been linked with. The sprints around and destroys things.
Yeah. So I definitely think that is a need. I think our midfield is a bit. We have numbers, but with a few of them, you can argue whether they are midfielders or whether they are 10s or whether they're better on the wing. So I'd like to see a proper traditional midfielder signed. So one defender, one midfielder, and then a forward. I'm not obsessed about it being a right-sided forward because I know everyone's.
No, you want a left winger, don't you?
I think they can all play across the front line. It doesn't really concern me that we seem to have been. I think we've become accustomed to the fact that we have a right winger who's left-footed and a left winger that's right-footed. It doesn't have to be like that. And all of them.
But it does, though, Neil. It does.
It doesn't. Look, think about it currently. Trent inverts. Salah cuts in on his left. You leave the right-hand corner completely left alone because no one goes there. So Salah's been going there because Trent's inverted and taking the space. And then Salah can't do what Salah needs to do. So you're leaving a space completely open, which means you can plan your defence around it. Because no one's going to go wide. No one's going to the byline on the right-hand side. So unless you play Trent as a proper right-back and you say, get to the byline and whip in crosses, you're making yourselves easily defendable. So if you're going to invert Trent, you potentially might need a right-footed right centre-back, right central midfielder in terms of Szoboszlai. Can't be Elliott. But then Elliott and Salah and Trent, they just don't work for me because two left-footed trying to cut inside, no gap on the right.
But if Trent inverts, then you would need either Salah or the number 8 on that side to hold the width on the right side, ain't it?
Yeah, but they can't go to the byline, can they? Because they're not right-footed. So you're cutting into the space where Trent is. Do you get what I mean?
No, but
so
number 8
Elliott
doesn't
wants
have
to
to
cut
be
in on his left foot. Salah wants to cut in on the left foot. Trent's already inverted, so that byline space on the right-hand side to cross the ball doesn't exist. So you don't have to defend it because no one's going to do it.
Jordan Henderson used to do it quite well at times. He used to go on the overlap on the right wing. Quite a few goals you'll see that they've come from his crosses.
Well, that was what Henderson used to do. That's what Szoboszlai should have done, but I think he lost his form second half of the season. And then we started playing Elliott there, and now obviously Elliott wants to come on his left, Salah wants to come on his left, and Trent doesn't want to go anywhere near the right-hand byline anymore. So you just lost the ability to attack a certain way, which means you became predictable in the second half of the season. That was my biggest issue with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And if the issue is Trent doesn't really want to play right back, so they've kind of come up with this role which allows him into the middle of the park, and it does make us unbalanced and a bit vulnerable at times. So I'd like to see that fixed. I don't think it's going to be. Salah will probably stay on the right, I'm sure. But the way to fix it is to get Trent or the right-sided midfielder to do it on the overlap to make sure that we have got some width. So going back to the point, I'd like to see us sign a defender, potentially a left-sided one, defensive midfield player, and a forward if there is a quality forward that can come in and help us improve further. But I think the key thing is they need to be quality players, not just sort of mid-range players.
Trent will be leaving. I don't see that, to be honest. I think one of the first things that'll happen is a new contract, Trent, when he comes back. But you never know. It depends how Slot wants to play him and stuff like that. But
Trent is going nowhere.
If you are new, please like and subscribe to the channel. We go live every day at normally 7:30, but during the Euros we're doing 7 o'clock because you might want to get to games. Not that there's any games on today. There might be games on today. I'm not really watching the Euros, so we'll soon find out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much for Tom, Paul, and Neil for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.